Hello, good afternoon. Well, it is for me anyway. I'm Jo Henderson and welcome to another Dux-Soup 15-minute mastery session. Today we're going back to basics, but before I hand over to Giles to get us started, I want to do a couple of things first. Firstly, I want to let you all know about our upcoming live event on the 30th of June. So we're officially launching the biggest shake-up in LinkedIn automation for years, AI-powered campaigns. That's right, you can send individually personalized messages to every single prospect at scale based on their LinkedIn profile. So join us on the 30th of June for this live launch as we share how you can use ChatGPT or Claude with your Dux plan to save you even more time on your outreach. You can register now. There's a button on, I hope, the right of your screen for the next session. So register now and then you have secured your spot. Secondly, I want to pick the topic for the next 15-minute mastery session. So if I click on to this slide, hopefully you can all see which topic would you like us to cover in the next session. So we've got data, what's collected and what can I do with it, and that was actually requested by Poppy, who's one of our users, or Dux-Soup for teams. So how does it work and what's the benefit? So I think you get 30 seconds to do this. I can't remember whether I turn it on or whether I move the slide on or whether it does it automatically, but we'll find out in a second. I can see that 5 of you have submitted so far, so let's get a few more in. Yeah, so data. This is what Poppy messaged me and said, I really like the visual side of things. I've read lots of information on it, but I just want to see it on screen. So what's collected and what can I do with it? Which was something I know, Giles, you said quite a few people have asked similar questions, so that seemed quite a fitting one. And then Dux-Soup for teams. Obviously, we have different plans. We've got teams plan, agency plan, individual plan, but we do talk a lot about things from an individual perspective, but we do also get a lot of questions about, oh, you know, there's me and another, or me and a few others, or how can I use it as part of a wider group? Well, that wider group is a Teams license, so we'll have a look at that. Come on, get your votes in. And we can have a look and see what we're going to be looking at. Okay, I'm going to do a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, there we go then. Poppy wins. She'll be delighted. Thank you very much. 86% of you want to have a look at the data. So Giles, you can fill your boots with your prep for that one as well then.
Perfect. Excellent. Thanks.
Amazing. So just usual little bits and pieces. The Q&A window is open, so if you've got any questions, ask away. I'll answer what I can and I'll put the others to Giles. There are a few articles in the resources section which will help you too. Giles will refer to a few of them as he goes through the session. The recording will also be available tomorrow and you'll be emailed with the link, and all the resources will still be accessible during the session as well. So there's no need to panic download everything. You can just watch today, learn, take it away, and then go and download those documents tomorrow if you fancy. Right, enough of me. I'll hand over to Giles now. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jo. Hello and good morning, afternoon or evening to you, wherever you may be in the world, whatever time of day you're watching this, and welcome again to one of our 15-minute mastery sessions. Back to basics, looking at profiles, engagement, posts, etc., etc. Anyone new to these, my name's Giles. I've been working with Dux-Soup for a number of years now and presenting in many of these webinars. We're going to cruise through these items today fairly quickly because I want to give lots of time for Q&A so we can actually do hands-on examples if people want to. But yeah, the idea is to keep the presentation side of things relatively short and sweet, and hopefully give you some insights and some little gentle reminders and some tidbits as to how to make the most of operating within the LinkedIn environment. So we'll start with why your profile is important. We'll talk a little bit about posting and then engagement and growth. And we'll try and sort of touch on a few of the things that we've seen change within LinkedIn over the years as well. You know, this year we're seeing a very different behavior, and some people sometimes say, oh, I've been you know, shadow banned or whatever it may be. Actually, no, it's mostly just the algorithms are changing and you need to adapt and change your behavior to take some of that into consideration. So let's crack on and move on. Right, Why is your profile important? Credibility. When you receive an email or a connection request, the first thing you probably do is go to that person's profile to see what they're all about. So if you've made time to put in your correct headline with some sort of maybe value proposition, maybe reflecting your track record, it's kind of a signal of legitimacy. You're giving yourself some credibility to your audience. That's so important, and so many people forget that. Your profile is a landing page, and it's always there. It's always searchable. You know, an email, a cold email will disappear. It'll either bounce, maybe end up in spam, or eventually drop off the bottom of someone's inbox. But your LinkedIn profile page stays visible and searchable. So if it's well optimized with relevant keywords, that means that people can find you organically. And then hopefully that curiosity can start a conversation as well. So it's really, really important to think of your profile as your advert, your landing page. And then another thing to think about is trust helps develop and accelerate the sales cycle. So recommendation, history of posts, a really well put together, well articulated about section can help sort of build trust in you. And, you know, people, once they've maybe read something that maybe helps build empathy, that can have a huge impact on how people will interact with you. If you look like you've got some credibility, then of course they're going to trust you more. Also, you know, if you've got contacts in common and that sort of stuff, that really, really helps. There's a link in the resources, how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. And if you just do a little bit of a, you know, have a bit of a search either on LinkedIn or via other mediums, there are loads of resources out there. What I would recommend you do, make sure you're looking for the most recent. If you're going to do a search for that, look for 2026, because the stuff from 2, 3, 4 years ago, yes, it's great, it can be useful, but it's probably fine that things have evolved somewhat. And certainly the functionality of LinkedIn and some of the things you can put on your profile page have evolved as LinkedIn have evolved their environment. So many people go into lead generation on LinkedIn and they forget about this really important, their front page, their landing page. And you know, it's the most simple and easiest win, because every profile you visit will potentially get a notification that you visited them, and could result in a reciprocal visit. And maybe if you are well presented, well represented on the platform, that can result in further things. So really, really take those things into consideration, and make sure you are making the most of that opportunity there. So that's kind of why the profile is important, and that kind of underpins everything you should then do on LinkedIn. Now, when it comes to posting, and this isn't an area where we at Dux-Soup, we automate anything. For example, we don't auto post or anything like that. What we do now have is a function to like posts, to automatically like posts and engage with other people's posts. But when you're creating posts, think about a few key things. You know, if you're trying to get yourself recognized more on LinkedIn and helping to build your credibility, just a few little tidbits here. You know, provide insight and don't promote. If you are obviously promoting things, you will find actually that is more likely to be hidden in amongst all the posts. Share, a lesson, something, a statement or something like that people can then interact with. You're looking for people to engage with your post, to post a comment, or to share it, or whatever it may be. So if you're just doing a promotion, that tends to not get so well received by people. Write for your feed and not the blog. Now, this is kind of like where LinkedIn does seem to reward or seem to recognize shorter posts, things that are easily digestible. What you're trying to do here is stop the scroll. People will, on their homepage, they're on their news feed, and they're just scrolling down, and they're just, for want of a better word, doom scrolling. You want them to stop at your post. You want to be able to grab their attention with that top line or a statement, and that's something that can be really, really important. Connected content versus unconnected content. People, well, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by this is everyone you're connected to who's following you has got a very good chance of seeing your content. because there's a match up there with connectivity and probably subject matter as well, because LinkedIn is in the background. It's looking at your about section and looking at the subject of your posts and making sure that it all matches up in order to further push that and make it visible. Connected content is the stuff that appears, when you're writing, it's appearing in your first degree connections. Now, what you then need to think about is your first degree connections are actually then a distribution system for your unconnected network. So the people who are second, third, and further apart. If you can get your first degree connections to engage with your posts, actually that makes those posts then visible to that extended network. So thinking about who you're targeting and the subject matter will have a massive impact on the visibility of your posts. And the bottom one, consistency. Posting 2, 3, maybe 4 times a week over an extended period of time, so over months, for example, will build a far more consistent pipeline than the occasional effort, a massive effort post where you've tried to put something really clever and extended together. Basically, if you're active and you're being creative and sharing insights that people are happy to engage with, then yeah, you're going to get a much greater level of engagement with those posts. So those are some of the keys that we're seeing. Again, if you look up some of the recent algorithm changes, there are some great resources out there. We've got some stuff shared there in our resource section, but don't just look at our content, look at other content out there as well, and that will help you make the most of that posting opportunity that you've got. Now, something you can always do as well is you can use the insights within LinkedIn to see the impact of your posts, of course. And if people are reacting to your posts, you can use Dux-Soup to find out the data about those people. We'll come on to that a little bit later, perhaps. Now, the engagement comes from stimulating the right people. And that's where you need to also take time to respond to comments. People react and comment on your post, make the effort to engage back, because then you're building a rapport with people. You are engaging in the correct way. It doesn't take too long. If you make a post and you get maybe 15, 20 comments or something, then taking that few extra seconds to respond to those people or interact with those people will help to build your credibility and the visibility of those posts. Now, of course, growing strategically with relevant connections, this is absolutely where, for example, you've got a post, you've got a bunch of people who've engaged with it, then you can use Dux-Soup, for example, to gather the information about those people, visit those profiles, gather the data, and then choose how you want to engage with those people. So growing strategically with relevant connections, you always want to make sure that you're not, you are targeting when you're trying to grow your network. Now, a few years ago, of course, you could send hundreds of connection requests a day, and that didn't matter. You could just, it was a bit like the Wild West. You could go out and send as much as you liked, and the scattergun approach worked because it was a numbers game. Now, of course, LinkedIn are far more strict on the amount of activity you can perform with regards to sending connection requests, emails, etc., becoming a much more targeted environment, whereby if you target well and you find strategically important and relevant connections, you will then find that your subject matter is reflective of those people and you'll get better engagement. Again, there's some resources which cover this in the resources section in the platform that you're looking at. So how does Dux-Soup help you with all of this? You can create that automated outreach actions to those relevant connections. So, you can build your campaigns, you can target your campaigns, and then, you can gather data about all of those people who are engaging with you. The followers, the connections, the reactions, etc. And then everything you do on LinkedIn, of course, is triggering a notification. As I said at the beginning, even if you do nothing else and you're using Dux-Soup and you're just using Dux-Soup to maybe visit profiles, if you've got your notification and visibility settings set correctly, every person you visit, they're going to get a notification. What's the worst thing that can happen? Well, they could ignore you. The best thing, of course, is they'll visit you and maybe engage with you either through a connection or a message if they're already connected to you, for example. So that's where you can really leverage Dux-Soup in conjunction with this, this enormously powerful resource that is LinkedIn. This platform with, hundreds of millions of users, hundreds of millions of active users on there, and you can make sure that you are being, seen separate from the crowd, because you are putting that effort into your profile and just being smarter about how you're posting and the time and effort that you're putting into those posts. So those are the things that you can really work on. In summary, because I'm just conscious this is a 15-minute session and it's now 16 minutes past, your profile is the advert to the world. It is your landing page. Make sure that that is reflective of you, and don't be afraid to change it sometimes. There's somebody I speak to who is occasionally recruiting for a different role. They don't work in recruitment, but they have their own business. So what they'll do sometimes is they'll change their profile tagline to saying actively recruiting for such and such and such a position. So when they go and visit people's profiles, they see that they're recruiting. They don't need to shout it from the rooftops. They're just putting it there in their tagline. Your profile is your advert to the world. It's your landing page, and people will see that when you visit them. Posting consistent, engaging content builds your credibility and boosts your visibility. The credibility also comes from having a well-rounded, well-researched, and well-presented profile. And you combine all of this, then you can help in conjunction with something like Dux-Soup, with your Dux-Soup activities, whether that's your campaigns, your visits, your engagements, however you're using the tool, helps to unlock your potential audience on LinkedIn. Now, I've rattled through that in order to give you some time to get some questions in. Hopefully, while I've been going through that, fingers crossed, we've had some questions come in. So, Jo, how are we doing?
We have had a couple of questions, yeah. So Eric said, is there a way to query posts for specific content? How can they find me, and how can I find people posting things that I'm interested in?
That's a really good question. I don't have an answer on that one. If we could take that question away, and I'll do some research and come back. Was it to Derek, you say? Eric, sorry, Eric. If we take that question away, we'll come back to you with some recommendations there. No problem.
It's a good question. Off the top of my head, what I would say is, if you're in certain groups, obviously you can join certain groups, and you can draw the data down for those groups. So there's a likelihood, if you're in the right kind of group, that you're all actually interested in a similar kind of topic. But I mean, obviously that's going for specific post queries. So yeah, we'll come back to you on that one, Eric.
And also, I think it depends on how people are using, for example, hashtags and things like that. So yeah, there are ways of searching for posts, but what we'll do is we'll come up with a slightly more detailed answer for you directly.
Cool. Roland has asked, what's the ideal post length? I've read over 1,000 characters, but that feels quite a lot.
Yeah, I read, when I was doing some research for this, I read around 500 characters. So I think it depends upon what resources you're reading and where you're gathering your information. What I do have is, there is somebody, I'm going to try and find their name for you a second, because they've done a whole load of research into this. Let me see if I can find their name. Bear with me 1 second. She's called Lara, and I can't remember what her surname is. Isn't that terrible? What I'll do is I'll find the article, the person who's got some guides on post lengths. Definitely called Lara, and I just need to find what her surname is, and then I'll send you the details.
So that was Roland. No, that's fine. I can remember these. Another one from Eric. After your last outreach, does it make sense to set up random visits even after you're done reaching out with messages?
I think so. Personally, what I do though, when I do that though, I do spread out those visits or those engagements, because you don't want to be, bombarding people. If you've got your outreach and you've got your campaign has come to an end, a natural conclusion, for example, I have, for example, I think I call it my nudge campaign, where I visit a profile, and then like 6 weeks later I like a post, and then another 6 weeks later I visit them again, and then another couple of months later I visit them again, something like that. It just hopefully keeps your name appearing occasionally in their notifications. It's not like you're stalking them. You don't want to be visiting them every week, but yeah, if you leave some time there, then yeah, your name does appear more. I sometimes use that as well with non-first degree connections, that just visiting profiles. Of course you can't yes, I do liking a post as well, but I'm not talking about so you can do that with second and third degree connections. For example, if they've not accepted your connection request, you could also put them into a similar type of campaign.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Scott has asked, when posting an article or a blog from a website, does LinkedIn suppress external links?
Apparently not. There were quite a lot of rumors that they did, but apparently they don't. It's more purely from a security aspect. When you click on an external link, you usually get a notification from LinkedIn. By all accounts, from what I've read and from the research that myself and one of my colleagues have done recently, they do not suppress articles with external links.
Okay, good. And
that's as far as we can ascertain, certainly. Anyway.
Yeah. This is the last question at the moment. Actually, it's from Ian. He has said, I get quite a few people agree to link with me, but not very many then actually respond. Do you have a tip to increase this, please?
It depends on how you're engaging with them. Is it Ian, you said?
Ian, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, it depends on, first of all, what you're trying to achieve and how you're engaging with those people. There are so many different routes you could go down with this particular question. But for example, you know, what's your end goal here? Are you trying to set up a meeting with them? Are you trying to add them to a mailing list? Depending on what you're trying to do, you know, very often, you know, that very simple sort of icebreaker question, rather than, you know, connecting with somebody and then sending them like a 4-paragraph essay. Hey, you know, just have a nice to meet you type message, and then ask them a question, you know, based upon maybe their location or their job, you know, depending on how you found them. What are the challenges you're finding in XYZ industry at the moment, for example? Without knowing more context, it's kind of difficult to give some precise advice there. But you know, if you want to send across more detail, Ian, we can always see if we can help you out there. No problems at all. But yeah, try and think about icebreakers, conversation starters, little questions, just to try and get people to engage with you. As I mentioned earlier with the posts, promotion doesn't work. Providing insights or asking questions is how you're going to get people to engage with you. And it stands for both when you're posting, when you're putting articles out there or posts or whatever it may be, and for when you're trying to strike up a conversation with somebody. You know, if you just provide people with was it Tyron called it the value vomit? You know, that's that essay of goodness.
Hi, I've got this.
Words.
You need it. Sign up now.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, have you know what challenges? You're asking people what their challenges are. You know, I was talking to Scott recently, and I mean we basically had this conversation that went around. You know, a lot of people who go into lead generation on LinkedIn, who are working in LinkedIn, may have been doing it for years. They may have come into it new, but everyone wants everything at 100 miles an hour. And the phrase that came to mind was, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You really need to take your time in all of these things, and you need to give things time to run their course. A lot of people try and do two things too quickly. You know, if you bombard people with follow-up questions, follow-up messages, you know, several a week, people will switch off from you. They'll disconnect or they'll block you. So you actually need to let things take their natural course and show people respect in the way that you're communicating with them. You know, we've all seen the obviously automated messages coming through. You know, you can spot them a mile off if they're badly done. If they're well done, then you don't notice them. You think it's a genuine interaction, and it is a genuinely felt interaction. It's just sometimes it's done better than other times. You know, we've all seen it. So think about those things: icebreakers, conversation starters.
Perfect, thank you. So that's our last question, actually. So Eric, we'll come back to you. Roland,
and somebody else will come back with the name of who Lara was again.
Yeah. And if you've got any more, if that didn't answer your question, Ian, then come back to us
please do, yeah,
after the session, and we'll give you a bit more insight. Lovely. So all that's left to do is remind everyone that our services are available to book. You can email the support team at info@dux-soup.com. And if you go onto our website /services and scroll down a little bit, that's where you can book your one-to-one support services. And there's a button on the right for you as well to book a booster session if need be. And that's it from us today. Thank you very much. Don't forget to book your space on the AI launch event for the 30th of June.
Can I just add to that as well?
Yeah, please do.
The AI functionality is already there. It's already available. All of the support documentation's on our support pages. So if you want to get a head start on people, you want to get up and running with it as quickly as possible, go in there, have a look at the support pages, look at the integration section, and you can find all of the documentation around it, how to use it, and you can literally hit the road. You can hit the ground running with that. It's there, ready. We'll do the official launch in 2 weeks with the webinar, but yeah, it's all there and ready.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks, Giles. Thanks, guys, for attending, and thank you, Giles, for your time today, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.